Welcome to the deep dive. We've got quite a stack of sources here, articles, background research, notes, all centered on unpacking the life and just incredible career of Denzel Washington. Think of this deep dive as, your shortcut to understanding why he's not just celebrated, but really a force.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try and guide you through this material, pull out those key moments, maybe some surprising facts, and the defining points that really shaped his journey
Right.
from, his early days right up to being called, I think it was the New York Times, potentially the greatest actor of the 21st century, which is quite a statement.
It really is. So our mission here is basically to give you a quick but still pretty thorough understanding of his impact, stage, screen, and, beyond that too. There's a lot there.
Decades of work.
Exactly. So let's dive in. Okay, so where does this whole story begin? The sources point us to Mount Vernon, New York. Denzel Hayes Washington Jr., born December 28, 1954.
Right. And his parents, it sounds like they offered this kind of interesting blend of influences. His mom, Lennis, or Lynn, she owned a beauty parlor.
Okay.
And his father, Denzel Sr., was a Pentecostal minister, but also worked for the city. So you have that sort of creative side and maybe a stricter, more structured side.
Yeah, that definitely comes through. And a really significant turning point the sources highlight happens when he's just 14.
The divorce.
Exactly. His parents divorced, and his mother makes this, pretty pivotal decision to send him to Oakland Military Academy.
And that, according to him, seems to have been absolutely life-changing. He's quoted saying it really saved him, pulled him away from a path that, some of his childhood friends maybe went down, a path that could have been pretty dangerous. Yeah. So that structure, that discipline, coming at that really crucial age, it seems like it just completely redirected things for him.
It's incredible to think about, isn't it? One decision. So after military school, he heads off to Fordham University. But initially, not super focused, didn't quite know what he wanted to do.
Right, yeah, undecided. But that apparently changed after he took a semester off. He ended up working as a creative arts director at a summer camp, Camp Sloan YMCA.
Okay.
And the story, which sounds almost like something out of a movie itself, is that a colleague saw him perform in a staff talent show and just flat out said, "Hey, you should try acting."
Just like that, a casual suggestion.
Seems like it. And apparently he took it seriously. He went back to Fordham, but this time with a real focus, studying acting down at their Lincoln Center campus.
And started getting major roles there too, right?
Yeah.
Like the Emperor Jones and Othello.
Exactly. Tackling heavy stuff right away. That foundation was clearly really important. He then polished it up with a year at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco before heading back to New York to, really start his professional career.
So deep roots in stage training from the get-go.
Definitely.
And that stage background starts paying off, it seems, in the late 70s, early 80s. His first time on screen was actually a TV film in 77 called Wilma.
Yeah, and a little sweet detail the sources mention is that's where he met Pauletta Pearson, who would become his wife.
Oh, wow.
His first Hollywood film, though, that was Carbon Copy in 1981.
Right. But the big break, the thing that really put him on the map for millions, that was the TV drama St. Elsewhere, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Philip Chandler, he was on that show from 82 to 88. And what's really notable, I think, is that he was one of the very, very few African-American actors who were part of that main cast for the entire run. Huge visibility.
Yeah, that must have been massive. But he didn't just stick to TV, he kept his foot in the theater world.
No, definitely not. He won an Obie Award back in 82 for A Soldier's Play, an off-Broadway show, and then he got to reprise that role in the film version in 84, which was also really successful.
So balancing stage and screen already. And the film career starts building some serious steam. Playing Stephen Biko, the South African activist in Cry Freedom in 87. That got him his first Oscar nomination, right? Best Supporting Actor.
Exactly. And then just 2 years later, 1989, comes the role that, really vaulted him into another league, Silas Tripp in Glory.
Oh, Glory, yeah.
That performance as the defiant, ex-slave soldier in the Civil War, it won him his first Academy Award. It was just so powerful, so raw. It really announced him as this major dramatic force.
That Oscar win had to be just huge for his career trajectory. And 89 was packed for him. He also did The Mighty Quinn and For Queen and Country, tackling complex stuff like playing a British soldier dealing with racism, not shying away.
Not at all. He was already showing that willingness to take on challenging material right from the start.
Okay, so that brings us into the 1990s. He's got an Oscar. He's got momentum. How does he solidify things?
Well, he becomes a genuine leading man, critically acclaimed. But it's interesting, he still keeps going back to the stage. The New York Times praised his controlled rage in Richard III in 1990. That commitment to theater is a real thread.
And this is also the decade of those huge collaborations with Spike Lee, right?
Right. Absolute pivotal. It starts with Mo Better Blues in 90. Critics noted his top portrayal there.
Okay.
But the really big one, the iconic one, was Malcolm X in 1992. His transformation. It was universally praised, got him his first Best Actor Oscar nomination.
Right.
Vincent Canby at the Times highlighted the psychological heft, intelligence, and reserve he brought. I mean, embodying someone like Malcolm X with that kind of depth.
Yeah.
That's a huge undertaking.
No kidding. And they worked together again on He Got Game later in the decade, 98.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just Spike Lee films defining the 90s for him.
Oh, no, not at all. He was doing incredibly diverse work. There was Mississippi Masala in 91. Roger Ebert loved his charm and chemistry with Sarita Choudhury in that. And then playing the lawyer defending Tom Hanks in Philadelphia in 93, another really significant film tackling major social issues.
He also proved he could absolutely carry big studio thrillers. Became kind of known for them, right? The Pelican Brief, Crimson Tide.
Exactly. He was navigating both that prestige drama world and the big commercial hits really effectively.
And stretching, too. Popping up in Shakespeare with Kenneth Branagh in Much Ado About Nothing, and then doing a romantic comedy, The Preacher's Wife, with Whitney Houston. He was showing incredible range.
Totally. Critics kept praising the dramatic work, too, like in Courage Under Fire in 96. Variety talked about his probing, reserved, and sensitively drawn performance. He could do subtle just as well as commanding.
He rounds out the decade strong. There's The Bone Collector, another thriller, and then The Hurricane in 99. Playing Reuben Hurricane Carter.
Right. The Hurricane was a big one. Huge critical success. Won him a Silver Bear Award at Berlin, another Oscar nomination. Roger Ebert called it flat out one of Denzel Washington's great performances.
Okay, so ending the 90s on a high note, which leads us straight into the 2000s. This feels like the decade where he cements everything. Acclaimed actor, Hollywood superstar, even an action hero.
Yeah, definitely. He kicks it off winning the Golden Globe for The Hurricane. And that was notable, right? First black actor to win that specific award since Sidney Poitier way back in '63.
Wow, that long.
Yeah. So that win kind of sets the stage for what's coming. He stars in Remember the Titans, huge commercial success, feel-good movie. He's called the linchpin of it.
Great film.
And then Training Day, 2001.
Ooh, yeah. That was different. A real villainous turn for him, playing that corrupt LAPD detective Alonzo Harris.
Totally different. Roger Ebert described the performance vividly, I thought, as being like a monster from a horror film. Just terrifying charisma.
And for that role,
Yeah.
he wins the Best Actor Oscar.
Yes. His second Academy Award, but his first for Best Actor. And this was incredibly significant. Only the second African-American actor ever to win Best Actor after Sidney Poitier.
And wasn't that the same night Poitier got his honorary Oscar?
Exactly the same night. It was this incredibly powerful, symbolic moment. You know, Poitier, his mentor, getting this Lifetime Achievement Award, and Denzel winning Best Actor, like a torch being passed right there on the stage.
Goosebumps moment. That must have just solidified his place at the absolute peak.
No question. And this decade also sees him step behind the camera. He makes his directing debut with Antoine Fisher in 2002.
How's that received? Directing debuts can be tricky.
Pretty well, actually. The sources note Stephen Holden praised his confident grasp of cinematic narrative, and especially his brilliantly sure-footed handling of actors. Which makes sense, right? He's an actor's actor.
Yeah, true. And he also becomes this reliable lead for a whole string of successful thrillers and action movies in the 2000s.
Definitely. Out of Time, Man on Fire, that pairing with Dakota Fanning was memorable.
Oh, yeah.
Spike Lee's Inside Man, which is a really smart heist film, maybe Lee's most, quote, mainstream studio movie, and Deja Vu. He just had this presence that anchored these big commercial pictures.
But still found time for the stage.
Always. He went back to Broadway in 2005, playing Brutus in Julius Caesar. Reviews were a bit mixed. Apparently, Ben Brantley noted he didn't embarrass himself, but maybe he got a little lost sometimes. Stage is demanding.
True.
But the production itself, a massive sellout. People wanted to see Denzel on stage.
Clearly. He also teamed up with Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe for American Gangster in 2007. Talk about heavyweights sharing the screen.
Right. Great matchup. And he directed again that same year and starred in The Great Debaters, which focused on that wily college debate team, a story about education, empowerment.
Seems like a passion project. And he wrapped up the decade with his fifth and sadly final collaboration with Tony Scott in The Taking of Pelham 123 in 2009.
Yeah, another solid decade showing his range and star power.
All right, so the 2010s and right up to now. What stands out in this recent era? You mentioned his connection to August Wilson's work.
Yes, that comes back in a big way. He returned to Broadway in 2010 for a revival of Wilson's masterpiece, Fences, starring opposite Viola Davis.
Okay.
Critics loved it. Ben Brantley praised his fluid naturalness, and he won the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Play. Viola won, too.
And that stage success then led directly to the film, right?
Yeah, exactly. In 2016, he directed and starred in the film adaptation of Fences, bringing Viola Davis and others from the stage cast with him. It was fantastic. He got another Oscar nomination for Best Actor, and Viola finally won her Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
Well-deserved.
Critics said he just tears through it with a joyful ferocity. It felt like such an important project, bringing that incredible play to a huge audience.
Absolutely. He also kept up the action star persona with films like The Book of Eli and Unstoppable. He just has that commanding screen presence for those roles.
He really does. But he also kept pushing himself dramatically. He got another Oscar nomination for Flight in 2012, playing that alcoholic pilot.
Yeah.
Such a complex, flawed character.
And the commitment. The sources mentioned that to prep for Safe House, another thriller in 2012, he actually underwent a torture session, including waterboarding.
Yeah, that's intense dedication, really trying to understand what that experience would be like.
Wow. Okay. He also starred in Two Guns in 2013, another hit, and went back to Broadway again for Raisin in the Sun in 2014, which won the Tony for Best Revival.
Yeah.
His commitment to theater is just unwavering.
It really is. And this period also gives us The Equalizer.
Ah, yes, Robert McCall.
The trilogy. Starting in 2014, wrapping up just last year in 2023, these films really cemented him as this unique kind of action franchise star, older, stoic, incredibly lethal, but with that moral code.
It's interesting, too, that his first Western, the remake of The Magnificent Seven in 2016, came relatively late in his career.
Yeah, and the sources mention a fascinating reason. Apparently, growing up, his father mostly limited their movie watching to biblical films, so he just didn't watch Westerns.
Seriously.
Yeah, but he did watch Seven Samurai, the Kurosawa film the original Magnificent Seven was based on, so there's that connection.
That's great. He keeps racking up nominations, too. Roman J. Israel Esquire in 2017. Critics praised how fully and comfortably inhabited the character felt.
Mm-hmm. And another return to Broadway in 2018 for Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh. Reviews noted these interesting moments where he deliberately let his usual charm slip, showing something uglier underneath, always exploring.
More recently, he produced Maura Rainey's Black Bottom, another August Wilson adaptation, in 2020, starred in The Little Things, and then, wow, The Tragedy of Macbeth in 2021.
Macbeth was stunning, directed by Joel Coe, earned him universal acclaim, another Oscar nomination. Just a powerhouse performance.
He also directed A Journal for Jordan in 2021. And looking ahead, there's buzz about his scene-stealing performance in Gladiator 2.
Yeah, exciting stuff coming up. And it's neat to see the family connection continue. He produced the piano lesson film in 2024, which his son Malcolm directed, and his son John David starred in.
That's fantastic. And he's got more lined up: a reunion with Spike Lee, Highest to Lowest, apparently a role in Black Panther 3, and playing Hannibal for Netflix.
Right. The sources do note that Hannibal casting stirred up some controversy in Tunisia, which is worth mentioning factually as reported.
Okay, so across this immense career, what about his style, his influence? How do the sources characterize that?
Well, one fundamental thing that comes through is how he sees himself. He explicitly states he considers himself a stage actor first, not just a Hollywood star.
Even with all the global film fame, that's fascinating. It really speaks to where his artistic core lies.
Definitely. He talks about his own influences, James Earl Jones calling him his hero, Sidney Poitier, obviously, as a mentor and friend, Morgan Freeman, too.
And he's clearly paid that forward, hasn't he? The list of actors he's mentored is incredible. Chadwick Boseman, Mahershala Ali, Michael B. Jordan.
Jamie Foxx, Will Smith, Jake Gyllenhaal, Austin Butler, Glenn Powell. I mean, it's a huge list. His impact on the next generation is undeniable.
And the award shelf must be groaning. 2 Oscars, 9 nominations total, 3 Golden Globes, a Tony, a SAG Award, 2 Silver Bears from Berlin.
Even Grammy and Emmy nominations. He's covered almost everything.
Plus, all the honorary awards. The AFI Life Achievement, the Cecil B. DeMille, that upcoming Honorary Palme d'Or, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, even Honorary Sergeant Major of the Army.
Yeah, for his work supporting military families, and his recognition at the NAACP Image Awards is consistent and significant, multiple wins, big streaks. It really highlights his cultural impact.
So let's touch on the personal side briefly. The sources give us some insight there, too. Married to Pauletta Pearson since 1983, met her way back on Wilma.
Still together, they even renewed their vows in South Africa with Archbishop Desmond Tutu officiating, which is quite something.
Wow. And 4 kids, John David, Katia, Malcolm, Olivia. And as we mentioned, several are involved in the industry now, often working together on projects.
Yeah, fences, piano lesson, Journal for Jordan all had family involvement. And his faith seems absolutely central. He's described as a devout Pentecostal evangelical Christian.
Right. Member of the West Angeles Church of God in Christ. He's even talked about considering becoming a preacher, wondering if acting is still, quote, compromising. Donated millions to his church, reads the Bible daily.
And recently in 2024, the sources say he actually received his ministry license. So that commitment is deepening.
Alongside that, his activism and philanthropy are huge. Boys and Girls Clubs of America spokesman and board member for decades, wrote a book on mentorship.
Huge support for military families, visiting Brooke Army Medical Center, donating to Fisher House, plus major donations to Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund and to Wiley College to revive their debate team connecting back to the great debaters.
There's also that slightly unusual note in the sources about FARC, the Colombian group, naming him as a potential hostage negotiator.
Yeah, that's in there. Along with James Cameron and Oliver Stone, we just report that as a factual point mentioned in the materials.
Understood. And academically recognized, too, with honorary doctorates from Fordham, Morehouse, and UPenn. So, reflecting on all of this, I mean, from that turning point at 14, the military academy, through the deep stage routes, the groundbreaking film roles, the Oscars, directing, producing, and then this whole other layer of faith, philanthropy, mentorship.
Yeah, it's really clear he's so much more than just this, incredibly captivating performer. He's shaped by discipline, by faith, by this deep dedication to craft, but also using that platform.
We really hope this deep dive has given you, the listener, a clearer picture, maybe a faster way into understanding the sheer scope and depth of what Denzel Washington has contributed and the path he took.
So here's something to maybe think about. Given his constant return to the stage, him literally saying he sees himself as a stage actor first and the undeniable power he brings to the screen.
How might viewing his incredible film career through that specific lens, the lens of rigorous stage training, change how you perceive his performances, his presence, his control, the depth he finds?
Does that stage foundation maybe unlock a new layer of understanding about what makes him so uniquely impactful on film? Just something to ponder.